Hello everybody and welcome back to another Farming Simulator 22 how-to video. Today we're going to talk about all things poplar. And we're probably going to analyze why poplar isn't that popular in Farming Simulator as a whole. But before that, this video is brought to you by Talk Bravo. Thank you for being a farm baron. Poplar's been around for quite a while. I go back through Farm Sim 17, and poplar was a crop back then. Not really sure how far back it goes before that, but it's a rather interesting crop, and it has one specific use, and that is to produce wood chips. And it is a renewable crop, in the fact that poplar is a plant once, harvest many type of crop. It will come back year after year. So the efforts that you go through in putting it down into the ground is one that can really reap the rewards with respect to financial gains, because once you make the initial investment, it's all profit at that point. So I've got a hired helper here planting our poplar saplings for a few reasons. One, you'll see how they're spaced out. And they're spaced out for a reason, because it's going to make harvesting these a lot easier. If you plant these manually, you're going to be more inclined to squish these rows tight together, which will work. But ultimately, in the end, it's going to be a little bit more problematic from the harvesting standpoint. Now, let's see what type of equipment you need in order to plant your poplar. Overall, we need a pretty low powered tractor. I believe the poplar planter here requires just 120 horsepower. Let's go ahead and take a look at it in the shop. So if we go to tools and then come down here to forestry equipment, we're going to come across to the PL75. This is the tree planter. Let's see, this requires 120 horsepower to operate and has a 1 meter working width. Pretty straight and simple. And then we're going to need some poplar saplings. So to get to those, we come to objects and then pallets. Now we used this particular tree planter when we were working on our trees video, and we were planting all the various types of trees, but this is not where you get your poplar saplings. You get your poplar saplings from this crate right here. This crate has 2,000 poplar saplings inside it. So we're going to want to buy that pallet. And then, pretty straightforward, we'll jump into our tractor of choice. We'll attach to our tree planter. And then we'll pull up alongside our pallet of poplar. And we'll hit R to refill the tree planter. And then at that point, we are ready to go to our field and get to work planting our poplar. I'm going to plant over here just to be out of this guy's way. Pretty straightforward. We're just going to line up, lower our tree planter, turn it on, and off we go at a blistering 8 kilometers per hour. Now, a pallet of poplar saplings is going to go quite a long way. So be very careful. I wouldn't overbuy your poplar pallets, since there isn't a way to get rid of them in the base game. So I would kind of buy one poplar pallet and see how far that takes you before you go and fill up and, get a second one. Now, once the poplar is planted, how long is it going to take before it becomes harvestable? let's go find out. Now, if we have the seasonal growth calendar enabled, then we'll be able to plant poplar between the months of March and August, and we'll be ultimately able to harvest poplar all year long. After 4 months with the seasonal growth calendar turned off, we have our first growth stage. An additional 4 months after that, we have our second growth stage here. So we are now in April, so it's been 8 months since the initial planting of our saplings. So 12 months after our initial planting, we are now ready to harvest our poplar. Now, there are several different ways to do this. We use a poplar header and a forage harvester, or we could use the Anderson bio baler to basically make round poplar bales. Round bales that register as wood chips. Now let's take a look at the shop and see where all of this stuff is located. So if we go to vehicles, obviously our forage harvesters. We've got several different forage harvester options as far as base game forage harvesters. Down here under tools, we go to forage harvesters. Forage harvester headers. We have the 130 FB. This is the poplar header. Again, it's New Holland, but we can use any forage harvester we want. Then if we come down here to balers, we're going to find the bio baler, which is used for poplar. And then we also have the bumper, which we have enabled, and we're going to demonstrate the use of that also. Let's first demonstrate the harvesting method with respect to the forage harvester. If you remember at the start of the video, I talked about how when these were planted, they were spaced out, and how that ultimately is going to aid us with respect to harvesting. And you're going to see now, I think, kind of why that is the case. In that the poplar header is kind of configured to gather in these 2 rows of poplar saplings. So in single player, you're going to need to hire a helper to run the harvester. And then you can use any real trailer, because any trailer is going to, for the most part, store wood chips. We're going to run up alongside, and basically the harvester is going to ingest the poplar. The cutting knives are going to chop it up into wood chips, and then we are going to collect those wood chips in our trailer. Pretty straightforward. From this point, we can take these wood chips to any sell point that will accept wood chips as a viable item. Or, if we wish to store these wood chips, we can store them down at one of the 2 train silos here on Elm Creek, or on any other map. If it has a train silo, we can ideally store it there. None of the in-game silos will allow you to store wood chips directly. The only way to store wood chips without using the train silo is going to be to have to place down a building that also allows you to store bulk materials in a heap. And I'm going to demonstrate that here in a moment for you. So you kind of get the gist here. So if we go to our build mode and we go to sheds, we have this shed right here, the bulk haul. And the bulk haul is going to be a shed that we can use to store materials in, like our wood chips. So just going to place that there. And we can bring our wood chips from our trailer. And we can dump that into the bulk haul to store it. We'll then need to come through with a belt, a bucket, or some other means to pick those up off the ground and place them into a trailer when it comes time to sell those. We can come in here and unload our wood chips in a heap in this particular building and store them that way. Now, another way that we can harvest our poplar, as I said earlier, is with the bio baler. The way we do that is we're going to come up here and we can left click and raise and lower our shield there. Right click, up and down, we can offset the baler. And at that point, we're going to turn it on. Lower it down and just drive on into the product. At this point, the baler is basically ingesting. Let me get a good angle on it. The baler is ingesting the poplar into the baler, and we are going to produce round bales of wood chips, basically. And at that point, we're going to be able to transport our round bales of wood chips pretty much the same way we would transport any other round bale. We have our warning. And then we can right click and reverse the direction. So now we have filled our baler. Just turn automatic drop off. And there is our round bale of poplar. Basically a wood chip bale. So I'm going to go ahead and produce a couple more of these. So we'll have something to pick up with our round bale trailer. Then we'll talk about selling our wood chips or our bio bales. Guess I should mention the pusher that we purchased and how you could use that. And that is, you can put that here in the front of your tractor and basically use it to push the poplar down as you drive between the rows. If you don't run it in an offset position. That is one way that you could use the pusher. And then, as I said, collecting the round bales is just as simple as using anything that you would wish to pick up round bales with. Here I have the Anderson round bale trailer. And I've made 4 round bales. You're going to find this trailer in the shop under bale loaders, the RBM 2000. You could also use this particular round bale loader if you really wanted to. You could use a front loader and put them on a flatbed. Like I said, any way that you prefer to transport your round bales, you can use that to transport your bio bales. Now let's talk about selling our wood chips. So if we take a look here at the prices screen, you'll see that Goldcrest Valley currently is the best price to sell wood chips, $348 per 1,000 liters. Now they will accept loose wood chips. They're not necessarily going to accept bio bales. So we're going to take this down to South Valley Biomass Energy. That's where we're going to haul our bio bales and unload those. And then we'll come back over here to the train station, or the train silo. I mentioned earlier in the video that the train silo was one of the places that you could store wood chips, because the traditional farm silos that we can place down will not store wood chips. So we'll demonstrate dumping wood chips in there for storage, how you would pull them back out, and then we'll go ahead and demonstrate selling those wood chips to Goldcrest Valley. We're going to go ahead and unload our bio bales now that we're down here at the South Bioenergy Plant. There we go. $1,678 in sold bio bales. Now, if we come over here to one of the train stations, we can overload our wood chips. We're dumping 4,524 liters of wood chips into here. We come and check our prices screen. We can now see that we have 4,524 liters in storage. We can pull those wood chips out just like that. But what I ultimately want to do is sell them at Goldcrest Valley, so we're going to put them back in. And as we have already demonstrated in a how-to video on basically selling to Goldcrest Valley or using the train, we're going to come over here and rent the train. We're going to hit R to rent the train, since the train is arriving soon. So now we just need to come over here and wait for the train to arrive. Just like that, the train has arrived. Now enter the train. Just going to back up a little bit. I'm going to fill it with wood chips and send it on its way. We get kicked out of the train. Do we want to sell Yes, and we've now sold our wood chips. Cost us $39 to lease the train, and we made $1,567 on our wood chips. Now, at the start of the video, I mentioned that poplar was a crop that you plant once and harvest many because it will regrow. So let's go ahead and fast forward time a little bit and see how long that process is going to take. So 1 month after harvest, you see the field info screen says poplar is growing. But you'll notice that the stalks that was left over from the harvest process have vanished. Okay? We still have our ready to harvest poplar, but the poplar that we have harvested now has changed. The status says growing, and the stalks that were left over from the harvest are gone. 2 months post-harvest, we have our little saplings back. So we are, in essence, in the same state we were in a year ago when we first planted our poplar. So it took a year from August when we planted our poplar and we had these little saplings till they were ready to harvest. It'll be interesting to see now, is it a year from August when we harvested, or has it now been bumped back 2 months? So will these be ready to harvest now in October next year? Let's find out. So it has now been 1 entire year from when we had our second growth poplar in the sapling stage. So it is going to indeed be 12 months from sapling stage to ready to harvest. And then once you harvest, it's 2 months post-harvest to get back to that sapling stage. So your first harvest is going to be 1 year after planting. Your second harvest is going to be 14 months after your first harvest, and every harvest thereafter will be 14 months after the subsequent harvest. But this is indeed one of the plant once, harvest many crops. As far as I know, there is no limitation on the amount of times that you can harvest poplar. I do know with sugarcane, you can harvest 3 times before you have to replant. But as far as I know, poplar is very much like grass, and that it's plant once, harvest many. So I hope this was helpful to everybody that was curious on what on earth is that poplar that's listed in the crops section. How do you harvest it, and why would you harvest it? Well, you harvest it to get wood chips. Why would you want wood chips is going to vary on the map and the player. There might be mods out there that later are going to take wood chips as production and produce things with them. You might want to have wood chips as a viable alternative profit source with respect to selling wood chips in the winter when prices are high. It's hard to tell. But this is how you plant, harvest, and sell your poplar. So until next time, happy farming.